they were in the process of beating me out, and the main gang leader, Smoke, stopped it, pushed everybody off. He's like, yo, you good with us. You always stood by the gang. You always carried your weight. You was always respected. You was always a leader. And we always seen that in you. And you inspire us. Why can't I do that somewhere else?
Thank you so much for joining us on the Evolve Your Brand podcast. I'm your host, Ollie Amirkhiz, and I just want to give a huge shout out to the wonderful team at Icon Industry, Shane ×3, because you love yourself so much you had to hire 2 other people with your name. Steven, love you, bro. And we didn't want you to be alone, so we named the EO after you. Thank you to everybody else at Icon Industries for all you do. And without further ado, I have a very special guest. I'm really, really looking forward to it. Dr. Multifamily, Dre Evans. Thank you so much for joining us on the Evolve Your Brand podcast.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Welcome, my man. Apparently, this is the day of the first.
Let's do it.
Never drank before, but how is that? That's pretty smooth, right?
That's good, man.
Okay, so how's your day started so far?
Always busy.
3
a.m., 4 a.m.
You were on the... What time did you wake up?
3 a.m.
3 a.m.?
3 a.m.
Are you out working Goggins? Do you wake up at 3 a.m. every day?
Yeah, between 3 to 4.
Get out.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start there. What's the morning habit look like? I'm curious.
The morning routine, get up at 3 or 4 a.m. The first thing I do is put like headphones on and I'll listen to something motivational. So TD Jakes, Eric Thomas, David Goggins, anything that feeds my spirit, that uplifts me, gives me positivity. Sometimes, even for the most motivated person, that discipline is what you need to drive home because you're not going to be disciplined every single day you get up. And the idea is that you continue to feed positive things to your mind and trick your mind so that you activate that discipline. You set your day on the right path. So I'll listen to that while I'm getting up, and then I'll sit down on the couch or at my desk. I'll write out whatever it is that I need to accomplish that week, and I'll put a date on it, or whatever that's important to me that needs to accomplish that day, and I'll put a date on it or a timestamp on it. And then I'll write down at least 3 things I'm thankful for. And then from there, I'll read for at least 10 to 15 minutes. I'll review what I need to capture for that day or for that week. And then I will go work out. And that's essentially the morning routine. Sometimes you might adapt it. Like if there's a deal you have to look at, you might do the journaling piece and then go straight into looking at real estate or working on a project or whatnot. But in general, it's, the music, motivation music in the morning, journaling, I'll pray, read my Proverbs, and then it's either workout or do real estate. And that's the morning routine.
I love to hear what people's morning routines are. What was one thing that you wrote down that you were grateful for today?
I always write out, which is pretty common to me, is just thankful for the opportunity to be in San Diego and thankful for the opportunity to be an entrepreneur. You're thankful for the opportunity to be an entrepreneur. I am. Yeah.
I love that. We're going to dig into that a little later.
All right.
You did not grow up in San Diego. Mm-mm. Where'd you grow up?
Chicago, Southside.
I read an article you wrote in 2015.
Yeah.
What was that article about?
It was about what it's like to be on the South Side of Chicago, the bullets, the abandoned homes, the drive-bys, the shootouts, what you see with the drugs, the poverty, the gloomy, dark cloud that almost like feels like it always hangs over the city, even in the summer. Just the car driving down the street with the loud music, people yelling, people shouting, people screaming, survivalship. What it's like for a youth to grow up on the South Side and their experiences, just the struggle of life. Just trying to really paint a picture for people what life is like on Chicago.
Yeah. So you moved to Chicago when you were 3, right?
Originally born in Detroit.
Right.
With my biological father. And my mom was always from Chicago, my whole mom's side. We were in D-Town, got divorced, moved back to Chicago, grew up in Inglewood. We were staying with my grandma. And Chicago was ever since.
Right. And I read some of the stats that you put on there, like what percentage of kids actually see like violence.
Mm-hmm.
That's not San Diego.
No.
Like it's really, do you know what I mean? It's like when I was reading the article, I was blown away at what you experienced, like what your experiences were as a kid. How did that shape you to where you are today? Like if you reflect back on it, what were the events that have put you in this position where you're actually influencing other people and making an impact in the community?
Growing up every day, it was always this amount of people got shot, or you're listening to sirens go past, you're hearing the gunshots in the background, you're hearing about, oh, Johnny got shot today, or you're driving down the street and you're seeing a mother crying over her kid, you're seeing the balloons. You see that so much that you almost become numb to it at some point. And I don't say that to make light of the situation because people's families are involved in people's lives, but imagine you're hearing that every day for years. So it's expected in a way. And I came to a point, I don't know where exactly it came from, but it came to a point where I'm looking at my surroundings and I'm looking at my life and I'm like, why is this like this? Like, what if and why? And I asked that myself when I was in the gang and when I got out the gang. And that's really where I started to say, okay, if I could do something different, if I have this possibility, then what would this look like? And I think just challenging that stigma, a lot of people, because of the negativity that surrounds Chicago, it's always like, well, that's just how it is. Especially for, African-American males that are between the ages of, 16 coming up to 21. It's like, woe is me. This is my situation. It is what it is. And I don't say that to make light of things, right? People have very different circumstances. Some people are born into situations. Some people, it is very tough to escape situations. So when I say that, I'm not making light of their situations, but I think it is very quickly where people just say, this is the way it is, without trying to take a knee, take a breath and be like, okay, well, what if I can do this, or what if this was different? And I just think that a lot of people don't do that. And I think the fact that I did do that was what started the change for me to go another path.
Do you recall like where that idea was planted, where you're like, there's more to life than what I'm exposed to?
I would say because the pain was so deep, the pain was so great that I reflected a lot about who I was as a person. My stepdad was very physically and emotionally abusive to my mom. Like, he would hit her. There would be many days where we were going pound for pound, like fighting. And imagine someone every day telling you, you ain't shit. I'm not going to be anything. I had a gift to draw. My biological father was an architect, and even though he was a drug addict and I don't have any type of relationship with him, I always wanted to be an architect. I always wanted to stay in my gift and do something around art or design. And he just kept going. And I'm telling you, like, no matter what I chose to do, no matter what I did, it was always like, you're never enough. You'll never be this. When I went to the Naval Academy, it was like, I was told you're not going to get in, and then you get in and like, you're not going to make it. And then when you graduate at the top of your class, it's like, well, everything you did was still irrelevant because of this. It was just never enough, And I think that when you're constantly analyzing yourself so much as you come up. And I think that because I had that happen, I was always just reflecting on me as a person, my surroundings, people I knew, where they were at, and you see this pain. You see this pain in this person who, my stepdad was a foster kid, and I understood that. You know what I mean? Like, I tried to resonate where he was at and understand where the pain was coming from, but at some point it has to stop because you're hurting other people. And yes, hurt people, but it became very extreme because it was affecting everybody, and of course in a physical manner as well as emotionally. And so I think that's the other mix and part of that question is when you get that so much, it eats at you, and then at some point you're like, I want something different, or like, how do I stop this pain? Like, how do I become better, and you're growing up with pain in everybody's eyes. Your family, your biological father, your stepdad, all your cousins, everyone's in the streets. My mom's brother having 4 uncles, all of them being in gangs or being drug addicts and having so much pain in their eyes and being so messed up that they couldn't even afford to come to my grandmother and my grandfather's funeral. Like, you're a grown ass man. You know what I mean? You're like, you're 40, 50, you're 50, 60 years old, can't even come to your own parents' funeral. You know, when you see that, I think it just shapes you differently. You grow up seeing that as a kid. Like, you just, it changes you. Your perspective on life is like, everything is an opportunity. Everything is a blessing. That's why I'm so big on that, because I'm like, when you grow up in that environment, you just want peace, and you want change, and you want to do things the right way.
You were going to blows with your stepdad?
Yeah.
I actually went to blows with my father, because I get it, you know, and that part of it, like in the Persian culture, like that physical abuse, and I'm not, this has nothing to do with culture. Everyone's got different lives. How old were you when that happened?
I mean, I was in middle school.
Wow.
When it started.
You know, and Dre, here's the thing, like, growing up that way, you're middle school, you're what, 10, 11, 12, around there. And you're like, the pain gets so deep. I'm always blown away at people's stories on how they can be in some of the worst situations, keep that mental, you know, correct their mental well-being, and be able to accomplish so much. So, like, as you were growing up, when did things start to shift for you? I mean, you decided the pain is too much. This is not how I want to live. So what did that look like afterwards? Like, what did you end up doing?
Every male is going to have a coming in age.
Yeah.
I joined a gang at 12 because you cannot dream what you cannot see. So I'm seeing the guys in the corner, the people with the cars, they got the girls, they got everything that's fancy, they're protected, they're feared, especially in an environment like that. So for me, I joined because I wanted the same thing. I wanted the clout, I wanted the status, I wanted to be respected, and I also wanted that safety for me and for my brothers and for my family. So I did that for a few years, and I'm actually glad that I did do it, because it gave me more perspective, and it opened up a lot of things about me as a leader and as a person that I didn't realize.
What was that?
What was that?
Yeah, what was it? What was
leadership.
Leadership.
So I remember you got to do certain things to get in the gang. Everybody is kind of different, but typically, like, they'll beat you in, and there's other initiation things that you might have to do, partake in a part of that as well. And I confronted them after a few years that I wanted to get out after a life-changing moment, and they were in the process of beating me out, and the main gang leader, Smoke, stopped it. And he pushed everybody off. He's like, yo, you good with us. You always stood by the gang. You always carried your weight. You was always respected. You was always a leader. And we always seen that in you. And you inspire us. And that's one thing that I realized, that was the first time I ever heard somebody say that to me. And I'm like, man, if I could inspire people in this environment that are in gangs, why can't I do that somewhere else? And when I saw that, and as I've come now in life, I realized that, like, when I meet people, I'm always trying to spread my passion and my hope and my belief to other people. When I look at you, I'm looking at the way you dress. I'm looking at how you speak. I'm looking at the things that you say and your whole body language, and I'm internalizing it and just your whole ethos. And from that, I'm trying to craft and see, okay, what gifts does this person have? And how can I pull that out of them? How can I touch them and transfer, even if it's a jolt of a little bit of greatness into them? And I can't explain where that comes from. But I really do when I speak to people, I'm always trying to leave them and try to uplift them and motivate them and push them to be their best selves. And that's when I started to see that round robin where speaking came from. Because when you started speaking, it was like, man, I really love this. It comes so natural. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy the hustle and bustle of traveling to do it. I enjoy just staying in front of people or speaking to people on the visually and an intimate level and being like, yo, like, get after it. Like, this is where you're at. Get after it. These are your gifts. These are your skills. Get after it. Be your best self. It naturally is something that just comes out of me. And I'm still exploring that and mastering that. But it, for whatever reason, is something that just innately comes out of me. And maybe that's just a part of because of where I came from. I say that. I assuming that it has something to do with Chicago.
What you just said about like your ethos and how you impact people, that is who you are. I think that's the reason why I gravitated towards you. I'm like, I don't know what it is about your energy and your vibe. You have this demeanor where it's like, hey, how can I make your life a little better today? You know, what value can I bring? And it's done with body language, not with words. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's crazy how body language, you cannot speak. And just like when someone walks in the room and they command the room and they didn't say a damn word.
You got presence.
You got presence.
I saw you walk in today. You were busy. You're busy. You're juggling a lot. Mm-hmm. You're a Wall Street Journal bestselling author, Dr. Multifamily. I love your brand name.
Thanks, brother.
I love your brand name.
Shout out to everybody that created that because it wasn't me.
It's all good. It's your own that.
Literally, people spoke that to me.
Who said that?
People.
Like
I would go to real estate meetups because the whole Dr. Dre thing. Like my name is Dre. And so everyone would just be like, Dr. Dre, Drizzy Dre.
Fire.
And someone, when I was in real estate, a bunch of people like, Dr. Multifamily. And then I was like, a couple of people said it to me. I was like, okay. It just stuck. So.
Oh, it is.
To the real estate community, they get the shout out on that one.
Well done, San Diego real estate community. The brand fits Dre perfectly. When I hear you speak, you know, and I've seen a lot of your content, mm-hmm. How come you're so focused on value driving? And there's so many amazing things that you're doing. And what I appreciate about it, it's not about you. You're not doing any of this stuff for you. Everything is about, now you're going to have success and you want to reap the benefits and reward of your hard work, but you're also reciprocating back to say, you know, you're involved in youth programs, you're writing books. How come you're doing all of these things to make an impact? Why not just go in a shell and just do your own thing and not worry about giving back?
I could, but everything in my life that I was given was because somebody opened the door for me or took a risk on me.
Okay.
There were people that took a risk on me when I went to MIT. There were people that took a risk on me when I went to the Naval Academy when I didn't really deserve a spot because I wasn't applying myself in school. And that's another reason why when I went to the Naval Academy, I milked that shit. Because I knew that some people were going to be like, well, affirmative action, you know, because how could this kid from the South Side of Chicago that grew up in this situation be able to go to one of these elite schools when you need a nomination from a senator or a congressman to get there?
So how did you do that?
Well, there's Congressman Bobby Rush that is on the South Side of Chicago. Because I didn't have the grades to get in, they sent me to the prep school. And even in the prep school, I barely made it. Like you needed a 2.2 GPA, I barely made it. But when I went to the Naval Academy, I don't know, I think I just needed to figure out how to study and how to buckle down. But the hustle was there because I harassed my teachers. Like I was in EI every day, had the counselor going, the sessions with the teachers. The counselor was to figure out how I study best. And I think that because of those combined, when that came time, when I went to the Naval Academy at that 4 years, picked engineering, and I graduated at the top. Because I also did that because it was the whole prove them wrong thing. I'm like, all right, for everyone that's going to say what they're going to say in doubt, I'm going to show you that I earned my spot. So you're not going to sit there and say that I just is a shoe-in or it's because I'm black or whatever else. Like if I graduate at the top and I hold all the leadership positions and I'm an MIT fellow and I'm a Truman Scholar and I'm an Air Force Institute of Technology fellow, like if I do all these things, I'm doing all these outreach, hundreds of hours, no one can second guess and say, oh, I didn't earn my spot.
And you barely got a 2.2.
That first at the prep school, yeah, barely. Mm-hmm.
And you accomplished all these things. 3 books, real estate investor, Naval Academy graduate. What changed? What was the shift? Do you recall?
I was in middle school.
Okay.
Middle school and high school, no. I remember graduating and I didn't have anything to show for it. And I remember just looking at my mom and I kind of just like cried because my mom is my everything. Her and my grandma. My grandma passed away, unfortunately.
Condolences.
Thank you. But my mom is my everything. And I just remember just looking at her and you could see the pain in her eyes and the tears. And I'm like, I was a savage, bro. Like I was a savage growing up. I always respected her, but like I didn't listen to nobody. And I was just always in trouble. I was always doing my own thing. And they just, at some point you're like, man, like, what am I going to do? Like I say this person is my why, is my everything, but what am I going to do? Grow up and just bring her nothing but pain and turmoil?
Were you angry?
Of course.
Like, what were you angry at? Like, were you angry at the world?
My circumstance, world, life, everything. I mean, just everything I was going through, like you growing up, didn't have a fucking childhood because you're fighting for survival, and then when you throw on top of that, you're dealing with the bullshit in your own house with your stepdad. So you grow up and you just don't have any type of positivity. You have no peace. So it's like all your life is like you're fighting, you're grasping for air. Then you get to the Naval Academy and now you're fighting to prove that.
Fuck.
You know what I mean? And you're fighting through plebe year. You make it. Then once you make it, now you're an officer. Now you got to fight to get your pen. Now you got to fight to make it through that and actually be a good officer. And then once you finally get to that, I guess it eases out a little bit. But then you get into real estate and business and the fight goes again.
Oh, no. You're right. When you get into real estate, you're beginning all over again.
That's what I'm saying.
What did I get myself into?
Now you're fighting again. So
how old were you when what? Did you take away leadership skills when you said you took away leadership skills when you were in the gang, right?
I think that there were things in me that I am definitely more of a natural leader.
Right.
I think that the experiences that I went through in Chicago innately put aggressiveness and the ability to have a mouthpiece and a demeanor that was already in me. When I went to the Naval Academy, that transformed me. That brought out that took the things that took Chicago hood Dre and molded that with Naval Academy ethics and being standard. And that's why it amazes people, because like I can slap you in your face and put you in your place, but at the same time stand and be completely ethical and speak intelligently and do all these things, because I have learned to be fluid. I know that I can, depending on my environment, I can move the way I move. I can go right back in Chicago and handle my business and walk around the street and be fine. But the same way, I can go straight up to MIT or Harvard or anywhere else and walk around and be totally fine and know how to hold a conversation and know how to speak to people. And I can go into real estate and put on my blazer and go speak about NOI and cap rates and equity multiples and IRR. But that is, you have to adapt. You have to be able to shift and change. You know what I mean?
You got layers. You're like Shrek, my man.
I got layers.
You're like, yeah, you do.
But you got to. It's survival, man.
Okay. I'm gonna challenge you on that. I really don't view you as someone that's surviving. I view you as someone that's very influential, that's thriving, that can help shape what the power of hard work is. You know, Dre, you don't know this. I think I talked to you about my oldest, Luke. And I want to show them. No one showed me how to be a man. Mm-hmm. You know, my dad, like my personal stuff, it was more about the alcohol abuse, all this stuff, the stuff you don't want to learn as a kid. Like you don't get when you say peace, I get it, and you reflect. Are you a father?
No.
You're not. Okay. So as a father, you're like, dude, how am I doing right by my sons and showing them how to be a man in this world, a productive man, a man that makes a difference, does right onto other people, be real. And I didn't set a good example for a long time. So now I'm like, okay, so I want to be around people like you so I can find out like, you're my kids are spoiled. They didn't grow up with those types of challenges. How do I get them to do hard shit? Because the world is hard. Not everyone gets to grow up in San Diego, California. Some people grow up in Chicago where they don't get the opportunity. So in this, in this country, we have a lot of opportunity, and you dealt with hardship. You dealt with things that most kids shouldn't deal with. And then when you got your opportunity at the Naval Academy, you didn't fucking blow it. Like you leveraged it into shaping and having so many layers.
Mm-hmm.
That's freaking amazing.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Because how many times I've gotten opportunities where I didn't capitalize on it. What was it about going to the Naval Academy where you're like, hey, things are going to be different?
Well, I knew I was in a safe environment. I didn't have to worry about Chicago, and I'm away from my stepdad. So I'm like, if this is my ticket, this is my opportunity, and if I look back on this and I waste it, and I'm on my deathbed, it's because of me. And that's a very fearing thing to think about. It's one of those other feelings that is very eerie and I can't explain, but it really checks and centers me when I really think about like reflecting. Any opportunity that I had, did I really make the most of it? And to be able to think about my future, like daydream, picturing myself on my deathbed or in my future, and I'm at where I'm at, and I'm thinking, and just the image of me not accomplishing what I was supposed to do, or living the life I was supposed to live, or not being in the environment I was supposed to be in, or whatever opportunity or job or internship or school or business meeting or phone call that I didn't do. And if I didn't make the most of that, thinking about how that's prevented me from being where I need to be. And there's some opportunities that only come for a season, for a moment. You only get one shot for them. And I don't think people realize that. Grant Cardone said it best too. Just say yes to everything. I literally say yes to everything.
Really?
Everything.
Okay, so I'm curious. You're a busy guy that's doing big things. How do you have time to say yes to everything?
I make time. I figured out if that means
holy
that
shit. Well, you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
If I have to stay up or I have to do other things, that I say yes to everything, because you never know where that yes takes you.
Right.
It could be an opportunity. It could be a door. It could be a connection to a connection. Your relationship capital is another theme that I have been diving into and realizing so much this year. That shit is like gold. It's like money. It's really equivalent to money. Like if you could put it equation,
it's better than money.
If you can put it equation to money, really, you're right. 2.1 equals 2.1 of relationship capital equals $1 of money. Like literally. Like who you know is everything.
It is everything.
Literally everything.
Blows my mind. And you know what I learned, Dre, like as you level up the people that you surround yourself with, do not take it the wrong way when you don't get the time from someone that really is getting shit done. It's not personal. You have to be very, very conscious of how you allocate your time and give it, like I have time that I allocate for giving back because that's what it's all about. That's what we do it. But you also have to allocate time for getting shit done. And I think that whole strategy of waking up at 3 o'clock, holy smokes, man. Kobe's a 420 guy.
Yeah.
I freaking love Kobe. So who are people like that you're learning from today? Like who's teaching you right now? Who are the influencers that you follow that you think they're putting out the right message in the world as far as making an impact on as a leader?
I have a lot of mentors, but Eric Thomas is going to be my number one.
Hardcore.
If there is someone to me that embodies a selfless heart and that as a hustler and a motivator and is still giving back to his community, it's him.
Okay.
He literally was coming around with the J's and with a 5950 fitted hat, snapback hat, going into schools, speaking to youth like, what up? Nobody else is doing that. Ed Milet is great too. He is a prolific and dynamic speaker, and his podcasts are dope. TD Jakes is a phenomenal orator. He is a phenomenal speaker. He's a phenomenal preacher. A lot of things that he says are punches in the face. Same thing with David Goggins. Same thing with Inky Johnson is another one. Even some of the people in hip hop too. I love 50 Cent. I love the way he speaks, his fearless mindset and approach, and his business acumen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that you can learn from people in all industries. I'm a big fan of Jeezy as well. I grew up off of Jeezy. I grew up off his music, big thing in hip hop. And him too, the way he carries himself and the way he speaks is... those are the type of people that I follow and I look to, and I'm observing the way they move and the way they speak.
You're learning.
Yeah.
Observation. It's amazing what you can learn when you're quiet and you watch. Mm-hmm. It's insanity. How did you get into real estate? So you wrote the books. That was before you got into real estate, right?
So I wrote
the first book.
Prove Them Wrong. I was at a coffee shop, venting to one of my homies, Keegan Wetzel, who went to the Naval Academy as well. Knew him from around the way. He graduated several years before me, but I had heard of him and we exchanged emails at one point before. I had bought a house when I first came out here. Single guy, not married, no kids. I sold it after a few years, and I was going to then buy a bigger house, and that was for the fam. When the fam came out here from Chicago, they have a big ass place to stay. That was my mindset. Like, mama, we made it. And
I love it. You were.
I was all about it.
Was that on the vision board?
That was all about it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so I was in the process of. I sold it, and I was in the process of looking, and the broker, Mike Giselle, was like, you should talk to Keegan before you...
Mike Giselle?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like, you should talk to Keegan before you move forward with this thing. And I was like, why? He was like, just talk to him. So we get the coffee, we're chatting it up. We're talking about Chicago, all this stuff, Naval Academy, in the military. I'm venting to him about how do I get my mom out of Chicago, because I'm 2 years out from this book, and until the book comes out, I don't have no way to get my mom out and do financial freedom. And he's like, he lets me do my thing. He lets me speak. And after I get through speaking, he's like, you should buy a multifamily. And I'm like, what's that?
Oh, yeah.
I never heard that before. And the funny thing, this is a story and where I also talk about just like everybody, people could be spiritual, people, whatever, but this is my belief. You know, I believe in God because he has got me through so many situations of death in Chicago, as well as a situation at the Naval Academy. And he just, to me, is funny how things come full circle. When COVID happened, I was underway on a ship on a DDG. We got back to San Diego. All the gyms were closed. I pulled back in. There was only one of the few gyms that was open. It was TG, and it was Grinders Gym in Linda Vista down the street from University of San Diego. And I remember I pulled up and I parked in front of this block, and there was a couple that was on top of this like roof. They had a rooftop deck on top of this like property. And I'm like, man, that shit's dope. That's vibes. That's nice on this block. Right? And I just remember thinking that. So Keegan's fast forward, I'm at the coffee shop with Keegan. He's having this conversation to me. I wish he would just told me it was another word for apartment buildings. Maybe I would have got it more, but maybe not, because I never would. I'm like, that's rich people money.
Yeah, right.
So he gets to explain it to me. I'm like, I'm still not getting it. So he's like, all right, I'll show you the property. So we get in my car, we drive up the street, we park. Guess where we park?
No, you don't.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, you do. The porch.
We literally park on the same block, and literally the house, the property that had the rooftop deck right next to it was this 3-unit. Hey, I'm not done.
It's going to get better?
It's going to get better.
Okay, let's go.
So we talked about the Naval Academy. there's the service academy. So Naval Academy is Navy, West Point is Army, Air Force Academy is Air Force. You got the Coast Guard Academy, and then you got the hidden child, the golden child, the Merchant Marine Academy. Most of all the multifamily properties on that block were owned by academy graduates. So I was like, if this is not a sign from God that I'm supposed to be doing this shit, I don't know what is. And then the fact that he took another hour or 2 hours to just pour into me, I walked away from it. He thought he scared me away, but I walked away from that. And I'm like, I gotta say yes. I gotta pursue this. Because if I let my fear get me, or if I say, I don't know about that, it's $1 million, like, just try. Just say yes. And I said yes. And I read everything I could. I opened books, podcasts, university, YouTube University. And at some point, I come out that hole after 3-4 months. You can't do analysis paralysis, because if you don't, you ain't never gonna act. You know what I mean? Came out and I'm like, let's go.
Okay.
Put an offer on a 5 unit, put an offer on a 4 unit. The 5 unit was in Mission Hills. The 4 unit was in Pacific Beach. I made it to the final round, best and final for the 5 unit. Didn't get it, but I got the 4 unit in Pacific Beach.
Did you use your VA loan for the 4 unit?
I did.
Okay.
That's how I did it. That was my first deal.
Crushed it. Your 2019? What year was that?
That was in 2020.
That was in 2020?
Yep.
How smart do you look by buying a property during COVID time in San Diego? You're a pretty genius, right?
It worked out. I mean, I didn't know. I didn't plan it that way.
You got a sign apparently.
I was just acting, you know?
Well, you know what's funny though? You literally, all the signs were there because like you literally parked in front of, how do you not pull the trigger on that? Like that's the opportunity. It was laid in front of you. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the power of belief. I'm going to share something interesting with you. I had never gone to church until last year.
Okay.
February.
All right.
And so I had faith. I just didn't understand how belief and faith were different. When I walked in, and it was a very, I would say it's a modern church, and I had never been in that environment and been ready for it. That day I was ready for it. And it's like, now I'm a firm believer that how you think, the energy that you put out in the world, the way you carry yourself, your vibe, all of those things shape the things that will, transpire. And you're going to go through hard times. You're going to go through good times. At the end of the day, everyone's living a different journey. Show compassion. And take the time. So it's really been a life of evolution, and it's you share all these things, and I can't imagine that day where you're there. It's 2020. You're like in the midst of COVID, all of these things, and you're like, I'm going to do this. That's crazy, because most people aren't going to pull the trigger. I see it. It's the fear holds them back. So how come you weren't afraid? How come? Not only did you, it wasn't a 1 unit, it wasn't a duplex. You bought a triplex. How come? Like, what made you get rid of the fear where you're like, I gotta do this? Because I think that prevents a lot of people. I mean, you see it. San Diego's a hard market to buy because people have that fear. Yeah. So how come you didn't?
It's a risk not to take a risk. Chicago. Stepdad, thinking about everybody, the ifs, the pain, proving everybody wrong, the signs from God, like everything. Like at some point, people don't realize, right? Like, look at your life, look at where you're at. If you want better, you got to do something different. A millionaire can't keep doing the same shit that he or she is doing if they want to become a multimillionaire. And a multimillionaire can't do the same shit that they're doing if they want to become a billionaire. At some point, you have to do something different to go to the next level. And if I'm going to go to the next level and I have this opportunity in front of me, I have to pursue it. If it doesn't work out, at least I tried. And yeah, that might be with me, but like no one could sit there and say I didn't do it. At least I'll die on my deathbed and be like, I fucking did everything I could to milk the shit out of my life.
Yeah.
Even if I failed every single time, at least I can die with my head held high. At least I can go back and I can look at my children when I have them one day or whoever else I speak to and be like, I did the best I could. No matter if I failed or not, but I did my best. And I think that is what matters. That's what people see. Because if there's something that I want people to take from that is that. At least I tried. You know what I mean?
You showed up.
I showed up. I said yes.
Yeah. You said yes to everything.
I said yes.
Fine. It came back to that.
Yes, the name of this podcast should be just say yes.
Just say yes.
Just say yes.
This is actually, hey, Stephen, voice of God, buddy. This is going to be just say yes.
Just say yes.
Dre, how did that, so 2020, you buy the first triplex, the first multifamily, fourplex. My bad. It was a fourplex. So you buy the first fourplex. What happens after 2020? Because
okay, so
you don't earn a name like Dr. Multifamily.
So then I start going to all the, I'm like, time to, push the elevator harder, right?
Yeah.
Turn up the levers. So start going to find out about meetup.com. I do some research. What's the real estate networking events in San Diego?
So you started from scratch. You got no relationships.
No relationships.
None.
Data.
Okay.
So aside from the broker and Keegan, that's all I knew. So went on there, found out all these real estate meetups, and I just started going.
Yes.
And then I meet a bunch of people, and I found out who the presidents are. I'm like, hey, you, come here. Let me meet you. I'm Dre, me, you, what's up? And then I meet them, build relationships with them. I get coffee or lunch with them, and I pay for it, and I get to know them. And I told them, yo, I just did this 4-unit deal. And there's a nugget in that, because when you do your first deal in San Diego, it opens a door. Because no one could sit there and be like, man, this dude don't know shit. Like, he don't know, he didn't read, he didn't educate himself, he didn't act. But the thing that I had that got me through the door, coming in not knowing anybody, and the reason why those people can take me serious and make time was because I did 2 things right. I understood the vocabulary and the knowledge, and so when they were speaking to me, I knew everything that they were saying. And then the second thing was I did a deal. I did a deal in San Diego in the backyard. So they couldn't say I didn't have the gusto. They couldn't say I didn't like I did a deal. And that was what allowed me to bypass multiple portals and build those relationships. And from there, and building those relationships, I met 2 people that quickly got me into escrow in the next 2 deals. The first one was meeting 2 business partners at a meetup in Del Mar. That was the 12-unit in Golden Hill. And then the second was I met a guy who literally was a more wealthier individual. I told him I wanted to partner with him because he came as a referral for a mentor for me by Miss Linda Evans, who was doing SDC San Diego Green.
Okay.
And she introduced me to the gentleman. I found the 2-unit in Little Italy, literally down the street from Kettner Exchange. He funded my whole deal. So all I had to do was find the deal. I'd show him all the underwriting and analysis on it. I was going to manage the property, and we had that agreement. And he said to me, he's like, if you find the deal, I'll fund it. So I show him everything, all the financials. He funded the deal. I went into escrow based on that. And that was in a span of, so within 4 months of buying the 4-unit, I built those relationships and was able to go into escrow on those 2 different properties and within 4 months. That quick.
So you went from 0 units to 4 units to, that was a 2 and a 12. You went to 18 units in like 6 months?
In 6 months. And then shortly after that, I started joining all the mastermind groups.
And you did this in San Diego?
San Diego.
Oh, shit. Okay. How did you get the buy-in from this investor, your partner, for the 2-unit? What was it about you? You don't have experience.
Well, I only had the 4-unit.
I know, but you know what I mean? Like, you didn't have, he's investing in you. He's not investing in your experience.
It says something, again, it's about saying yes and act and moving forward.
Yes.
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 I think he saw, I would do the same thing if I had someone approach me. If someone came to me and said that they bought a multifamily in San Diego, the respect and the conversation and the tone of the conversation is different. It's almost like if there's room in the air gets sucked out, and if the air in the room was blue, it went green. Like shit changes. The dynamic changes because it's like, okay, you did something, and there's something about you like that's in you that made you do what you did, and whatever that is, I want to know more. And then when you speak to that person and you find that there's something that you like about them and that you gravitate to, and especially if there's a hustle in there, there's a hunger in them, it's like, I see you going places, and for that alone, I want to be a part of the ride.
Yeah.
And I say that about anybody. Like if I don't meet a lot of people like that, but there was another meetup by my boy, shout out to Manny, who just has GG Homes.
Okay.
Yeah, he met at a Bigger Pockets event. Him and Shane and Ken. Shout out to all of them. They all great dudes. And he connected me with another person at his meetup. She was a fucking hustler, and I was just like, I know you don't know shit about multifamily, or in that you just did your first 2 deals, but like, let's fucking connect. Because like if Manny's saying that about you, and I'm looking like the way you're engaging with people and you're a fucking hustler, like I want to talk to you. I just want to talk to you. I just want to know you. And I think that people naturally gravitate to that, you know?
I do know. Have you started your own investor? You have an investor meeting, right?
I had a Opportunity Knocks. We had 7 to 9 paid sponsors on average, and we had about 100 people per meetup. I was doing that for about 1.5 to 2 years.
Okay.
And I just turned it over because it's a lot of work, and I was trying to pivot. I had, I already had multiple thought leadership platforms. Like how many? I don't need to have all of these. You know what I mean? And it was about give someone else a chance too to pass the torch. And I had a good buddy of mine that was already doing deals in commercial real estate, extremely successful about it, and was looking to have a meetup. And he was trying to start from scratch. And we built a relationship. And I said to him at some point, I'm like, man, like, what if you just take Opportunity Knocks? But I'm like, you want a thought leadership platform. He was already moved from like 2 different locations because he was trying to figure it out. And I'm like, just the system is already bid out for you. So you can just take it. I want to pivot away anyway so I can do other things and free up more time. I've been doing it. How long am I supposed to do it? It's been 2 years.
Oh, I love how you said pivot. What are you pivoting to now, Dre?
I'm pivoting.
I'm excited about your projects, man. Like,
thank you. I'm pivoting to more real estate deals. I'm doing a lot more development deals in San Diego. So I'm pivoting to that, which is exciting because I never thought, just like most, I never thought I would. I never had an interest in it. I was like, nah, that's not for me. Too long. And I'm pivoting into that. I'm pivoting into a lot more speaking opportunities, just even being more aggressive with it now.
Okay, you are getting into the speaking space.
Because I've always been in the speaking space.
Yeah.
Before I even had books, I was a speaker first more than anything. I was going around the country speaking to schools, prisons, like all over Atlanta, Detroit, St. Louis, Ohio, Miami, like out Chicago, Detroit. Like I was all over the place.
Right.
Speaking in prisons in Jamaica, like all over.
Oh shit, you spoken in Jamaica?
Yeah, Jamaican prison. Like, so it was cool, and I always had that respect. But then the books came, and then once I got into real estate, it was like now shit changed. Because now it's like instead of doing just financial literacy and motivation, now instead of just mindset and motivation, you're combining real estate and business and financial literacy. And now I got the books behind me. Because now when you were first doing it, you had no books. You had no business. It was all from here.
Yeah, heart.
And now when you have books, I'm giving the books out. I'm like, yo, here's the books. I did the event last week at YMCA. I think you saw it online, or like the kids are coming, I'm just signing their names, signing notes, affirmations in the books. Like, yo, take this with you, change your life. Them reaching out to you now you got, and then you didn't have the social media. So now I got the social media. So it's like, I have all these different portals now, levers now that I can pull that I didn't have when I first got started. There was no social media. There were no books. You know what I mean? Like there's no the business acumen. Now it's all there, and I can reach people in a different way, in a more profound way. So I'm going to continue to bring it back to your question. It's more being aggressive as fuck with speaking and releasing books, working on the 2 audio books, getting those out. Children books. I got the workbook coming for
Oh shit, you got children's books.
I got 3 children books written already. Going a series. I got the.
You should do more things. You just don't have enough. Like I'm very sad that you don't leverage your.
Oh man.
I'm grateful that there's people like you out there. I'm grateful that you get to share your story and people can understand the true opportunity that we have in this country and feed the optimism and really, really step up and get back to our cores of working hard and not leaning on, we all need help. We all go through tough times, but we got to do more for each other. And nothing matters more than connection, relationships, and helping each other. I think that's the message of positivity that I've gotten from you and getting to know you even better. Like, I'm like, how would you not want, like you owe it to yourself to share your story. So that way people see what's available to them. Like, look at all the cool stories that you've lived. It's, you grew up hard. You went to the Naval Academy, had success there at the MIT, the books, the scholars. Those are like, everybody's got the same opportunity. Mm-hmm. We're all in the same country. It's about the work ethic and wanting more and for your life to matter. So like 5 years from now, what are we looking at for you? Have you thought about it?
Not too much.
Okay.
That probably still stems back from Chicago because I could never be the person to forecast out. Yeah. I know some people who do that and I've always been amazed by that.
Oh, I can't do it.
I can't do it. I think that I just know that where I'm at currently, I'm passionate about speaking and the outreach in the books and real estate. And I think I'm just going to continue to pursue that until the end. And I know that along that path, there will be more yeses and opportunities to come.
I'm excited. So, Dre Evans, we're going to put all his handles before we wrap up. I know you got a busy schedule because you say yes to everything. Who do you want to thank? Who makes your life better? Who are the people that, I know your mom you already brought up. So who are other people that shape the person of impact?
I want to thank Keegan for opening that door. That for first mission that I got a good friend also too named Shane Gartz that I met through Bigger Pockets. He's just been very positive, been a great homie. I want to also thank my mentor, one of my main mentors, one of my day ones, Miss Mines. She was the first African-American female to graduate from the Naval Academy. I literally call her like every week, every other week. Catherine Norcutt at University of San Diego, who took a chance on me and allowed me to be a part of the master's program at USD. And I call her my Mama T. She's like my other mother, but she was my sponsor mom at the Naval Academy, and I still keep in contact with her this day. We talk multiple times a week. Literally love her to death. I could talk to her about anything. So I would say those people and my brothers, right off the rip.
Why don't you give them a shout out? Well, how many brothers do you have?
I got 2. I'm a triplet.
You're a triplet?
Yeah.
I think I've seen the picture.
Mm-hmm. 2 brothers. One's in San Francisco and the other one's in Phoenix.
Okay. But you're the coolest one? Or
Nah. The one that is in Phoenix is the coolest one.
How so? What does he do?
He used to be a Secret Service agent.
Oh, shit.
So he's just...
I'm sorry, bro.
I think you can't top
He's
that.
way too...
He's the coolest.
He's way too...
Yeah, he's the coolest. Ain't nobody top
right,
that.
That's,
yeah. When he got that shit, I was
that's
like,
a trifecta, bro. Like, that's...
You just shit on all of us. Like, what the fuck? Secret Service? Like, come on. Yeah, he did that.
Well, that's the one in Arizona. What does your brother in San Francisco do?
He's a naval officer. Cyber guy.
Oh, he's a cyber guy.
Yeah,
okay, engineer, cyber guy. You guys don't have any competition whatsoever, but you are Dr. Multifamily. I just want you to know that. They can't brag on that.
I appreciate it.
They can't brag on that, bro.
I don't think that shows Secret Service, but I'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah,
it's cool. And maybe not.
Yeah.
Did you have fun?
Have fun, man.
We're gonna have to have you. This might have to get Dr. Multifamily a regular spot as you do all this cool shit.
I love it.
I appreciate you having me on, man.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.